everybody, and welcome to The Artist and the Author. I'm your host, David Plant. I've got a great show for you today. I'm here with Robin Potter. He's author of The Major. It's just been published here recently. And welcome, Robin. How you doing today?
Hi, David. Great to be on your show, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. So, I understand you are a veteran of UK Armed Forces. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I served in the British Army from the age of 16. I joined straight from school. I left our high school at the age of 16. Joined straight into the Junior Parachute Regiment. And from there, progressed through my military career. I later on transferred to the Royal Artillery, where I was in a battery that we used drones, the original unmanned aircraft drones before the new ones came out, the ones we use now. So yeah, a very interesting military career. I left the full-time forces for a while, and then I joined back up into the reserve forces. Served all over the world, saw a lot of combat missions, saw a lot of peacekeeping missions, and lots of downtime in between. But,
right.
Yeah, very, very interesting career.
And what did you, once you got out of the service, what did you end up getting into?
So when I left the service, full-time, I got into finance within the banking industry. Worked my way from being a customer service consultant, and now I'm a risk analyst, a data scientist within the banking industry. So yeah, a very career for a soldier, but one that I've thoroughly enjoyed.
Right. So let's dive into your book a little bit. Excellent book. Everybody out there, I would recommend going out and getting your copy. This is a fantastic read. It's packed with a lot of action, and it just kind of really pulls you in. So, Robin, without giving too much away, kind of tell us a little bit about the story.
Yeah, so the book takes place in the future. After a time the world has gone through a lot of change, humans have destroyed the environment, they've killed off a lot of species, they've used a lot of chemicals to destroy the habitat and some of the animals. And the book takes place after a previous war between humans and animals, and the animals have evolved over time, so they have their own technology, their own civilizations, and humans have been reduced to try and fight back for the fertile land to survive. And the Major, the book one in the series, joins a special forces team of animals, and they're actually badgers. So Major is the commander, and there's 16 troops under him within B Troop, and they're sent off on a mission to try and stop insurgents getting into their land, and that's where the story takes off. Right.
Again, everybody go out there and get yourself a copy of this. It's available on Amazon and all the bookstores, right? Pretty much worldwide.
Yeah, worldwide. It's available. It's ebook, audio, hardback now as well. The hardback was just released this month, so that's doing very well. Actually, I meant to say to you, the hardback has actually got a lot more in it than the paperback.
Oh, okay.
It's like a special edition. It has a longer prologue. It also has a lot more detail within some of the paragraphs and chapters throughout the book, so it's a special edition one. Oh,
very nice. And I personally like having hardbacks. Something about having a hardback, it's better. So let me ask you, what got you into writing? Was there any particular events that kind of got you started?
Yeah, so back when I left the army and got into finance, working within Civvy Street, I started to suffer with PTSD related to combat service, and I was encouraged to go for treatment with a charity we have here in the UK called Combat Stress. They do fantastic work for veterans. And during the treatment, I was speaking to some of the counsellors, And I said, I want to, I like photography, but I'd like to do something else to try and take my mind off what I was suffering. And he said, sure, yeah, anything that takes your mind off and gets you at peace and gets your heads in the right place is worth doing. So I told them I had an idea for a story. It was originally going to be a children's book involving animals and how they look after the environment. But I quickly realised I wanted to get into putting into paper and into story some of the things I experienced, and others just a bit of fiction. So I came up with this idea of writing a serious science fiction novel, and this was the story that Major ended up being. Well,
very nice. Tell us a little bit more about this group that helped you out.
So the charity runs throughout the UK, and they help all veterans from all armed services, so the Navy, RAF, Army. No matter if you've just left the Army or you're a long-standing veteran within the community. And they have 24-hour lines where people can call in if they need help. They have centres. Now I think they used to have 3 or 4 centres spaced in the UK, but I think there's only 2 now. One down south and one in Edinburgh.
Okay.
But they provide a lot of, not just for PTSD, but other services, other mental health issues, or any health issue really.
Right.
To veterans.
Well, I'm going to post a link down at the bottom, so if anybody's interested in getting involved, helping, you'll be able to get in touch with the group. It's a fantastic group, it sounds like. So in writing your book, can you, a lot of the folks watching are inspiring writers, can you walk us through the process of the challenges of writing your novel?
So yeah, the challenges, I started this book about 8 years ago, the initial story. So it's taken a long time to get to this stage. I wrote the first chapter and then left it. It was booked. It was shelved for a long time. I didn't want to get back to it. Life takes over, family, relationships, all that sort of thing. So it took a long time to get there. But once I started writing, it then quickly evolved over a period of about 12 months to just over a year to get to this stage. The death of my father a year and a half ago was kind of the last kind of straw that I needed to actually get into writing. So he said to us before he died, told my brothers and I, look, if there's anything you want to do or you want to do with your life, do it now. Time's running out. You don't have all the time. You never know when it's going to run out for you. So I said, okay, now I need to get into writing. I need to finish this story. I want to get it, even if I just publish it for myself or I finish the book for my own personal satisfaction, then I'd be happy. So over that course of a year, I sat down and basically typed it out. Pretty much got to this point. It was a slog. I didn't know what I was doing. It was the first book I've ever written, but I got there and I'm happy with the end result.
Oh, it's a fantastic book. You need to be proud of this one. It's very good. Tell us a little bit about your characters. How did you go about developing your characters?
So the characters in the book are, the names of the characters are all people I know, but people I served with in the forces or people I've known since I left the army. A lot of the soldiers and B troops, a lot of the badgers are actually guys I served with. Jolly, Traff is named after, there's another story around that, but Traff's actually named after a pub in Aldershot where the guys from the parachute regiment used to drink, called the Trafalgar. So I named it after the Trafalgar pub, so he's named after that. Jolly's a real guy that I served with. Wormhat is named after Ian, who's called Ian Wornham, and I changed it to Wormhat just to fit the character. It sounded a lot more badger-like, if you like. But yeah, most of the names in the book are soldiers that I served with or people that I knew once I left the service.
And I can tell how you've written the book that you have experienced a lot of this, in just the way you've painted the picture. It's you can tell that the person who wrote this really knows what's going on out there. It's
I tried to use some of my experience that I had in the military. Other parts of the book are taken from experiences that other people that I know were involved in. So there's a lot of truth in it, a lot of places that I know. There's also a lot of places in the book that are based on actual places in Scotland. So I won't spoil it for them, but there's a point in the book where there's a farm complex. It's in the first few chapters, so the fighting at this large farm complex, and it's actually somewhere maybe about 5-6 miles from where I am just now. It's a real farm. I used to pass it every weekend, and I got to know the route up to that farm very well. So that I thought this is a perfect opportunity to use this farm. It's a great place, the scenery around it. I'm going to use that in the story.
Now, would the folks that live in your area, if they're reading this book, would they pick up on that?
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, we have a range of hills nearby. They're quite prominent in the area, called the Pentland Hills. They feature in the book. They feature heavily in the second book. But yeah, I won't spoil too much. Yeah, they should know. There's a few places in there that if they look hard enough, they'll realise it's nearby.
Right, that's kind of cool, because it kind of ties the whole locality into the book. That's very cool. How about your plots of the book? Is it something that you've always kind of had in your head that you wanted to do, or how'd you go about doing that?
Yeah, when I first started writing the book, all I knew was I had a group of badgers, and they would be fighting between foxes and humans. Now the humans use the foxes as kind of slaves, but they train them up and they get them to fight the badgers for them. That was the premise I had of the story. The locations and the actual way the book turned out, it kind of evolved over time. So the story, I knew there was a journey they had to go on, and I knew that I wanted Major to experience something different.
Right. Now,
which happens in the second half of the book. But I knew the kind of high level detail of the story I knew, but the actual details of it came along while I was writing.
Oh.
The book basically wrote itself, as I was just a spectator to the writing.
Exactly, because you already have the show going on. You just need to put it out on paper.
That's it. Yeah, I wrote when I was writing the book, and I say this to everyone when they ask. I don't know how other writers do it, but I feel like I'm watching a movie. When I'm typing the book, I play it out as a movie, how it would look on screen, and then go from there. So I can explain the large landscapes, the sweeping mountains, all the hills, things like that. So I see that as a movie playing out, in the battle scenes as well, how it would look in a movie.
Right. And it's like you've got this picture in your head, and if you're talking to somebody, you're trying to explain it to them, it never comes out the way you want it to. But when you're able to sit down and put it on paper, it's a whole different ballgame. Yeah. So, the
good thing with writing, you can always go back and change it.
That's true. You can
always go back and elaborate on it and change the wording. But yeah, that's a great way to do it.
Right. So let me ask you, who's your favorite character?
Oh, it's a hard one, David. That's a real hard one. Major, obviously, and my wife obviously that's her favourite character. She loves the book. I would say it's the other characters in the book, because they have a lot more to play within the troop. So you have Wormhat. He's a great character, and a great guy in real life, I must say. All of them, it's really hard. It's like asking a father who's the favourite child. You can't have them. They're all great. But the standout moments, there's some funny guys in there. There's a lot of humour in the book as well. Spook as well. Spook's a favourite one. He's the place where I go to get my hair cut. My barber says that's his favourite character. He read the book and he says, "Oh, Spook, he's great." But I really don't know. Raffi, I would think, who appears in the second half of the book, he's quite good. Yeah, I quite like him. But they've all got their individual characters, and they're all great to write about.
And you're right. It's like when you write a book and you got all your characters and you've really spent so much time with all these characters, you can't really pick your favorite one because, like you said, they're like your kids.
Yeah, so. I once heard a quote by Lee Child about his books, and he said, "Never fall in love with your characters. Never fall in love with them." So I try not to, because anything can happen in the story, and it does to some of them.
Right.
But don't fall in love with your characters, and treat them as not well. They can't be human advantages, but some of them, they have human traits.
Right.
They're not infallible. So yeah, I try not to. I try and keep above that, because anything can happen. They're in battles. They're seeing action. So yeah.
Right.
Without spoiling that.
Well, I always tell my wife, is like, I've got so many books. In every book, after you read it, it's almost, you get sad because you've met these characters and you've really come to know them, and then at the end of the story, you're like, man, where are they now? So I always look at my bookshelf and I look at all the different books, and I have friends in every one of them, and that's the great thing about writing in books.
Yeah, it's true. Some of the best books I've written, I think it's like seeing a great movie or a great play. You think about it for a long time afterwards, and that's when you know it's gripped you. And I think books by, I've read a lot of Terry Brooks, Raymond D. Feist. I love The Magician and that series, the Riftwar saga. There's a lot of characters in there, and I try and bring that into my story. And when I got to the end of the book, writing the book, and it was finished and edited and it was ready to go, I thought, I need to keep writing. I need to start on the second book, because I want to know what happens in the story. Even if I want to know where this takes the characters, I want to see what's happening. And I just carried on writing, and I think that's why the second book now is half done. It's taken me less than 2 months.
Wow.
I just cracked on, as they say, and got to this stage. So, yeah.
So you kind of get a critical mass going. You got this whole story, and it just builds and builds and builds.
Yeah. It's great from not writing at all, from doing nothing, never ever written anything really, since I left school, to writing a full sci-fi book that's got a storyline and characters. Right. It's been fantastic. It really has.
For me, there's a big difference between writing a paper in school versus writing something that you want to tell and something that's really enjoyable. And I think a lot of folks, what I always say is everybody's got a story to tell, but they get so intimidated with the writing process, but it's much different than what you did in school. This is something that's coming from your heart, and it's a whole different ballgame. So
yeah, I think also you reach a certain point in life where you think, I really should do it. I'm 54 this year, and I would never have thought of writing a book when I was younger. Never ever, especially when I was in the forces. It just wasn't something I wanted to do. I like reading, but never saw myself writing a story. But yeah, it's a lot different, and it's something for yourself.
Oh, absolutely, and your family and your friends. I mean, it's a big deal to them too when they see your finished product coming out. It's a really nice experience. So, let's talk about the publishing process. This is something that kind of intimidates a lot of people, and it can be a laborious task to get something published. Tell us about your experience with publishing.
Yeah, so as I was getting to the end of the book, I wondered, how would I publish it? Would I just get it printed for myself, get one copy for me, and I'd be happy with it? And I thought, well, I've gone through so much trouble getting this story finished that I would like to see if it's worthy for publish. So I packaged it all up, the manuscript. I looked at what publishers would like online for submission, and I sent it out to about 100, both in the UK, US and Canada, to all different, it was literary agents and publishers. And it took months and months to hear anything back, and through that period I thought maybe I should do it myself. I've heard that you could self-publish, and I got quite a few letters back or emails back from publishers saying, look, it's not for us, it's not in our catalogue, it's not where we want to take our business. However, a few of them did say, look, it's a really good story, we like what you've written, but it's just not for us. And I thought, reading online, not everybody gets a reply back from a publisher saying it's really good, and it kind of encouraged me to, okay, I think maybe I'll go down the self-publish route. If nobody wants it, I'll do it myself. I can handle it. I can get it published when I want. And I quickly realised that the book needed edited. It needed a professional touch. So I got in touch with a local editor who did a fantastic job. Megan is her name. She went through the book start to finish, made lots of suggestions. I cut a full chapter out. Chapter 2 was completely different in the book to what it is now, and a lot of explanation that I would use for ex-army. She said, look, nobody will understand that, or you're elaborating too much on it, so take a lot of the detail out. People don't need to know. So it was things like that that helped. So once the book was fully edited and line checked and punctuation and things like that had been fixed, I then looked at Amazon KDP, which a lot of people use. But I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it properly. If I can do it myself and I can publish it, I want it maybe in bookstores as well and available worldwide. So I looked at a company called Ingram Spark who do print on demand. And basically you upload your manuscript, and then you decide what format, what paper you want it printed on, all the tedious things that a publisher would do for you to do it myself. Before that, actually, I'll go back a step, the book cover. So the book cover was designed by a lady on Fiverr, a website called Fiverr, where you look and see what previous work and give them an idea. She went through about 10, I think, different ideas for the book cover. She originally had a cartoony kind of anime style for a soldier, a Badger soldier, Special Forces. It didn't look great. It wasn't where I wanted. It didn't look serious. And I came up with the idea of maybe a paw print on the front, and I let her run with it. And this is the first one she came back with, that paw print you now see on the book cover behind me and on screen. And I loved it. As soon as I saw it, I thought, that's the one. It's perfect. So that was the book cover I uploaded to both Amazon and Ingram Spark, and it's now in the final book.
It's an incredible book cover, and what's so nice about it, it's just very unique, very eye-catching, and it really leaves a lot to imagination on what the book's about.
It's what I wanted. I didn't want to have a character on the book cover where your mind would automatically say that's who that is, that's Major or whoever. I wanted people who read the book, I wanted them to decide what he looked like in their head. I wanted them to understand what he looked like, his character, his uniform, because I don't go into great detail in the book. He has scars, he's battle scarred and he's weary and he's a veteran of combat, but that's about as much. And I wanted people to make up their own mind what he looked like, rather than having it on the front cover. And I think having the paw print on here just sets it off. It's a great addition to the story.
Oh, absolutely. So, out of all your experience with the publishing process, what would be like one of your biggest takeaways that you would tell aspiring writers to look out for, or one of your big takeaways from it?
I would say do your research, have a look at what works for you. If you're quite happy just to go down the Amazon route, then KDP works great. You can just upload your manuscript and your cover design, and it's there. And then they also provide an ISBN for your book as well, which is great if that's what you want to do. If you wanted to go down the other route and have it further afield and into bookstores and available in Barnes and Noble and Waterstones here in the UK, then maybe Ingram Spark or another company that would do that would also be very helpful. And the thing I would say is, if you are wanting to do self-publish, be prepared to do the hard work, because I have to promote the book. I have to appear on like podcasts here, or do advertising and promotion work on online, Facebook, TikTok, all the whole plethora. I've got everything on there. And it is hard work, and it takes away from the writing. I'd rather be writing the second book than promoting it, but it all helps. And actually I've found promoting it and being on podcasts and shows and local news as well, that I found that I like to promote the book and I like to talk about it with people like yourself, David. It's great, and it's nice to know that people are looking for a book like this. It's helped me a lot.
Right.
But what I would say is just be prepared for hard work, because it's not something to do lightly.
Yeah, and there's quite a few more technical steps versus just writing it. Like formatting the book, and like you said, getting the artwork and all
formatting that. Formatting it was a nightmare. It really was. I spent over a month. The book had finished, everything was ready to go, and the formatting, I used Scrivener first to actually write the first book, which was great to use. It's very technical, but it was a good software to use. However, I just couldn't get the formatting right for the size of book I wanted. And then I found a program called Atticus, which you just type in, or you select what format you want, and it automatically does it for you. So I'm using that software for the second book. A lot easier. It's been fantastic. I would recommend it to anyone who's starting out.
So it's called Atticus.
Yeah, Atticus. Yeah.
Okay, and I'll put a link down below as well on that, because that's some good advice. So a few books that I've written are smaller. They're more kind of young reader books, and I've just been using Microsoft Word and formatting everything. And but like you said, it's a trick to it. You got to get it just right.
It's a trick. You've got to know the margins, the bleed for the cover on the front, the bleed for any images inside the book that you use. It gets very technical very quickly, and there's a lot of people online have trouble with it. I'm not just the only one.
Yeah, a lot of aspects to it. But one of the good things about self-publishing is that you really have complete control of what you do, and your royalties. You're not, you don't have a publishing company taking so much out of your royalties.
Yeah, and a lot of publishing companies now won't take submissions unless you go through an agent. So you have an agent who takes 10%, then the publishing company take anything up to 30% off you, and then the retailer gets a cut as well. So by the time it comes to you, you're left with not a lot. And to be honest, even self-publishing, it's not, we're not rich publishing a book, but it's certainly had a lot more control, definitely, like you say, a lot more control, and the royalties are better. Right.
And just imagine, because like you said earlier, each publisher has kind of a genre and something they're looking for. Yeah. You take that in addition to the process that you're going through. I mean, just imagine how many stories are not being published because of that.
Yeah, there's some fantastic books that have been released by self-publishers. It's a great way to get your story out there. There's thousands on Amazon, not just under sci-fi and fantasy. There's thriller, there's fiction, all sorts. There's also young adult books like yourself who do, and they're fantastic. They really are.
Yeah.
Some great writers out there.
Yeah, and from my standpoint, the more books out there, the better.
yeah, definitely. I love reading. I've always loved reading, and the more that's out there, the better the quality gets, and the more the stories there are to read.
Absolutely. So, let me ask you, what is your favorite genre what kind of books do you read in your spare time?
Yeah, in my spare time, like I say, Terry Brooks. I started reading Terry Brooks when I first joined the army.
Mm-hmm.
The Sword of Shannara was the first fantasy book I ever read, and it just took. I remember traveling home on the train, reading Terry Brooks' books, the whole Shannara series. Terry Brooks, Raymond D. Feist, again, fantastic author. I like his. Some people don't like that they say it's a bit simplistic for them, but I enjoy the books. They're great. I also like a lot of thriller books or action books. And fantasy-wise, I've just started reading again the David Eddings series.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. There's a lot of books in there, but it's great. I love David Eddings. Yeah.
I've got him right back here. I got all this his and they also have the show out now that they are making. So yeah, it's a pretty cool series there. What would you say would be the best advice you've received?
The best advice I received from a friend who's also a writer, Eddie, he said to me, just write. Just, if you have an idea, just write it. Just write every day. No matter what it is, get your story down. If it's on a piece of paper, just write, and write every day. Write what you can. Because it soon turns into a longer story, it soon turns into a chapter, and before you know it, you've got half a book written and the story's going places.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I know, I'll write stuff down and I'll put it away, and then I'll pull it out, and I'm like reading. I'm like, wow, did I write that? That's pretty cool. Completely forget what you wrote. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Robin, I certainly appreciate you joining me today. And again, your book is out worldwide. It's in bookstores. It's on Amazon. Everybody, like I said, go out, pick yourself up a copy. It is a fantastic book. And what is really, to me, added bonus to it is that you have heard from the author. So it's a whole nother dimension when you're reading the book to actually know a little bit about where the book's coming from. So I think it's a fantastic combination.
Thank you. I would say it's just come out on audiobook as well. So we had a fantastic actor called Steve Fortune, he's done a lot of English TV work, and he's appeared on stage. Fantastic actor. He voiced all the characters, narrated the whole book, and he's done such a great job. I actually purchased the book just to listen to on Audible. He's done a great job, and a few people that I know have bought it and said, Rob, you did the right thing by getting Steve to voice it for you. He's great. He brings the book alive. So yeah, it's
excellent.
Available and iTunes.
So you got it in ebook, softcover, hardcover, and audio.
Yeah, all formats. It's available. No matter if you can't read a book, if you're too busy to read, you can listen to it on Audible.
And Audible is also a great way for anybody with visual disabilities or anything like that to be able to enjoy, your book, anybody's book. Audio is a fantastic outlet.
It's great. I never used to listen to books. I thought it was distracting, and I'd rather have a book in my hand to read. And over the last 2 years, I think, I started to listen a little bit, and then in fact, the whole of Raymond D. Feist's catalogue is available on Audible, and that's what I did over the last 2 years. I just listened to his books rather than reading while I was cutting the grass, while I was out cycling or walking, or I just listened to it all the time. And I thought I would love to go down that route and get a book out there on Audible. But like you say, it's people that are visually impaired who can't actually read the book. If they want to listen to it, it's a great way of doing it.
Absolutely. It's also great for folks in the transportation, truckers and folks like that. I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that.
Yeah.
So Rob, before we wrap up, anything that you would like to kind of put out there to our audience and the aspiring writers?
Yeah, anybody that's wanting to write or has been wanting to do it for a long time, and maybe put it aside because life's too busy and things getting in the way, I would say any spare minute you get, write. Just put the story down on a piece of paper. If all you have, you don't have to have a fancy computer with software. If you don't have any money, write it down on a notepad, write on some paper. Just jot that story down, and before long, like I said, you'll have a chapter, or you'll have half a book, or you'll have a full book written. It just takes time. And if you have a story in your head you want to get out, go for it. There's nothing stopping you. It's you can do it all yourself. You could self-publish like I have, and many other people have, or you could go to a publisher, and if they like it, they'll do it for you. But no matter how or what, just write. It's a great way of doing it.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. Well, everybody out there, I appreciate you joining us today. Robin, I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Great talking with you. You had some great insight. And everybody out there, remember, always keep drawing, always keep reading, and always keep writing. And until next time, y'all have a great evening.